So what's the temperature of the Spurs as we head into training camp?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday and welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here at the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's Five San Antonio. As always, I'm glad to have you back. You guys are the everydayers. Keep subscribing to Locked On Spurs, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You know where to go: YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's Five Plus app. It's all there. Go subscribe ASAP. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get themselves $300 in bonus bets if they bet just $5 and that bet wins. So go download the app today and take advantage of that deal. All right, what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about just what's the overall feeling, the overall vibe, the overall temperature of the Spurs as this team is set to start training camp next week. Can you believe it? Training camp opens up next week. Gotta get rid of media day. That's on Monday, but then after that, it's showtime. It's getting ready for the regular season. So what's the vibe? Is the vibe still kind of unknown? Is the vibe, no, it's finals bound. It's Western Conference. It's playoffs. Is the vibe, hey, maybe they're still in a rebuild. We're going to talk about that and more right here on Locked On Sports. And yes, we're going to have a quick reaction to Gilbert Arenas. I know, you're Spurs fans already. I can feel you saying, why do you give that guy attention? Why are you giving him attention? Well, he did kind of want to throw the Spurs under the bus by blaming the Spurs for Kawhi's injury-plagued career. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Going to bring in our guest. He is back to close out the week right here on Locked On Spurs. He is Mr. Raul Dominguez. He is with the AP Sports. You want to follow him on X at Dominguez5. Raul, can you believe it? Training camp opens up in just, 3-4 days? That's it?
Yeah, it feels like it's actually been forever since Spurs last played. So, probably also has to do with the fact that we haven't seen Wemby play since second week in February, I think it was, or in San Antonio. I mean,
yeah. Not to mention De'Aaron Fox. We got just a taste of it. Yeah, what he can do on the court here before he was shelved. But yeah, it's definitely exciting. As mentioned, Media Day is Monday. Everybody, I'll be there. Raul will be there. Whole crew will be there. Shouldn't be an exciting day. Hopefully they finish up fast. That's another thing I love about the Spurs. They kind of wrap up Media Day pretty quick. They get back to work and get away. Because I would be like, I'm going to see Raul a lot in the season, man. Come on. Give me a break here, Spurs. Give me a break. All right, Raul, you are here to talk to us about the temperature of the Spurs. Now, I said in the intro, the idea here is like, what are we feeling? What's the vibe? What's the energy? Is it good energy, bad energy? Is it kind of nervous energy? And I'll start it off by saying, I think the vibe, the temperature is this team is still in a rebuilding phase, not necessarily at the beginning, not necessarily in the middle, definitely not the end. But I think they're in that last stretch run. I think this is their last mile before they officially get out of it and it's showtime. Now, I know many things team will make the playoffs, and that should be enough to get out of the rebuild. But we don't know that yet. We don't know if the stacked Western Conference is going to just haunt them. We don't know if a 3 to 5 game losing scale, hopefully they don't go through that, will really hurt them down the road. And here's the biggest factor. We don't know if the 3-guard lineup is going to work. On paper, it should, but you still have questions about that shooting among those 3 guys, Harper, Castle, and Fox. What if there's a shakeup? What if, they see themselves at a logjam with a lot of swing guys, Devin, Keldon, Barnes, those guys, will they make a deal? It feels like this team is just right there. They're in that home run stretch. They're going to get out of it. They're in the bottom of the 12th inning, but there's still not a lot, but a few question marks. And the big one for me is also this team is, on paper, just collectively, they're a young team. Now, they brought in veterans, Olynyk, and of course, Barnes is there. Cornette is there. But nevertheless, at the core, this team is still young. Harper, Castle, Wemby, and that's going to be pretty much their building blocks right there moving forward. You hear rumblings that maybe Devin could be dealt. Maybe Sohan could be traded. What's going to happen here? Are they that one player away from becoming a powerhouse? Is it a Lauri Markkanen? So I think right now, we're still in that rebuilding phase, but at the end, that last stretch run. What do you think?
Yeah, talked about this before on previous Locked On. I think Spurs are, I'm predicting, top 4, top 5 seed, which, seems pretty high, especially, considering how they've struggled over the past, especially the past few seasons. But I just think there's too much talent on this team for the Spurs not to do well. To me, Victor's already a top 5 player in the NBA as far as on both ends of the court. Offensively, his game is still developing, but I mean, everyone's seen the flashes of, him, doing the crossover, the 7'3" guys I think he's actually 7'5", but the Spurs are still going with 7'3". So, but 7'3", a guy, doing the crossover, pulling a Manu, putting the ball behind his back for a dunk. Everything that he does, and then defensively, he's such a menace defensively. With him anchoring the team, you have De'Aaron Fox, who I think is a top 3 closer in this league, an outstanding point guard. I think Castle's going to take a huge leap this year on both ends of the court, especially offensively. And then you have Devin, Keldon off the bench, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan, Luke Cornett. I just think they have too much talent for them not to do well. And I know the knock is going to be that, whether they're still young. Yeah, they are still young, but, you look at the guys that have been here for a while. I mean, Devin's been here. I think is entering his 5th or 6th year. Keldon as well. You have Harrison Barnes, you have Cornett now, you have Kelly Olynyk. There's veteran presence on this team, and and also Victor's been playing professionally since he was 16, I think it was. So
Yeah.
I just think there's too much talent. I think I do not think they're gonna challenge for an NBA title this year. I still think they are still too young and inexperienced, but I think they're gonna do a 4 or 5 seed just based off their talent and their energy. And you've seen a lot of teams that do great in the regular season, and in the postseason, maybe not quite there because of their inexperience, but just the energy and the what they bring during the regular season, pushes them through and helps them have a great regular season. I think that's what you're going to see from the Spurs, just a kind of an outstanding regular season, and then we'll see what happens in the postseason. But I just think that there's too much talent, too much energy, too much talent, especially defensively, for them not to be contending for a top 4 seed.
So would you say, if you're reading your temperature, your thermometer that you got in your hand right now, where would you put it at? Like boiling hot? Like, oh my God, this team's going to be super hot, man. Watch out, league. Or kind of somewhere in the middle, maybe at 50, 60 degrees hot. Where would you rate them?
I'd say maybe 80 or 90. I think they're going to come. I think they're going to come out of the gate doing pretty well. I think they're going to have a good, maybe a good first half. Maybe the second half they cool down a little bit, or maybe even vice versa. But I think at some point, I think you're going to see these stories and these national broadcasts where they talk about the young Spurs and how they're the talk of the league, and how this team's gelling and going to be a factor for years to come. I think you're going to see a lot of those types of stories and those types of narratives, during their broadcast. Once they're on national broadcast, I think temperature's going to be very hot. And again, I don't know what it's going to be like in the postseason or once the season starts winding down. But I think initially, I think it's going to be extremely hot for the Spurs, especially for the fans. I mean, the fans, back in the day of the Big Three, Spurs fans always thought the Spurs were going to win a championship. They every year they thought, we're going to win a title. It seemed like every year, no matter how they started, how they did, they thought they were going to win a championship. But I think for the Spurs fan, it's going to be a great start. I think they're going to be happy about it. Again, it's just a matter of sustaining that toward the end of the season and into the postseason. But I think with their energy and their enthusiasm and And I really, really think that Mitch Johnson is going to have a huge impact on this team. I think every time around him, he just has this vibe. I think to me, it's like a mix of Pop and Joe Mazzulla from Boston.
Yep.
Really that quiet confidence, that sort of that just on the edge of being angry and being, this guy that sort of demands, perfection, but at the same time, some compassion. I just think that Mitch isn't going to. I think with Mitch fully in charge now, I don't think he's going to allow these guys to take a day off, or I think he's going to be kind of like Pop in the sense of I wouldn't be surprised if early on in the season, if they're doing bad, if he doesn't pull the entire starting lineup out, and put somebody else in, just to send a message to them. But I think the combination of their energy, their enthusiasm, their youth, and Coach Johnson, not taking any sort of not allowing them to take any plays off, I think that's going to lead to a very good start for them.
Yeah, well, we're not done talking about this topic. What is the temperature of the Spurs as they head into training camp next week? More on that right here on Locked On Spurs with our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5, and follow me on X as well at Jeff G. Spurzo.
When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family. I had to give it a try, and let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all that. Their men line offers something for everyone. Boxers briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried Skims underwear, those boxer briefs, and let me tell you, you're going to be hooked just as I was. They're perfect for your active lifestyle. They move with you. They'll never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable, reliable underwear I've owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men at skims.com. Let me tell you, and right now, you don't want to miss out. Go to skims.com right now. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, Locked On Spurs, in the drop-down menu that follows.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He is on X at Dominguez5. Give him a follow right now because the Spurs season is right around the corner. Just a few more weeks. Yes, there's training camp, so you can do that. But as far as actual action on the court, you get some preseason games. Oh, wait, can you believe preseason starts already next weekend? It's wild. That's wild. So it's here. Spurs season is right there. I can hear the squeaking of the sneakers already. The hollering of fans at the frost, so it is time. So we're looking forward to that. But we're talking about training camp right now, still a few days away. But so we're trying to gauge the temperature. Now, Raul pretty much said, if he had to look at his thermometer and kind of give it a heat gauge there, he gave it about a 70-80%. So that's pretty hot. I'm more on the 50-60 side because I still believe this team is not quite out of the rebuild. And one more reason I want to bring that up is because you can see them still retooling. One, they took care of getting Wemby some big man help, Olynyk and Cornette. And even Bismack came back. So they checked that off. They hit a home run with a draft. That was easy to do. Or Dylan Harper there. Yeah, get him. So now you got yourself a versatile guard to pair with Castle and Fox moving forward. So check that box off. You can even say you bring some more veteran leadership. Yeah. Olynyk and Bismack. Check that off. But in today's NBA, it's all about that three ball, and that's still something that has not been addressed. I fear that could rear its ugly head as the season moves on. Not trying to knock down, Champagny or Barnes or Vassell. Maybe Olynyk. I don't know, Wemby. But the point is they don't have that sniper. They don't have that guy give it to him in the corner. It's almost money every time. I don't think they have that guy yet. So part of the job of getting that team up to snuff is addressing that three line. And I think that's still part of the rebuild. Again, in that last stretch run, though, I think that could be that last stretch, or it could be a versatile big man that can stretch the floor a la Lauri Markkanen. What do you think, Raul?
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to Spurs that have never been a team that's made a lot of moves during the season. It's pretty rare, aside from, recently when they were almost like not dumping players, but, trading away players in order to get future assets. So I don't know if they'd make a move. I really would like to see how they do with the what they've built. I'd like to see a full season of it because, we haven't seen a full season of Wemby, so far Wemby with everyone else, whether it's, whether it was Wemby getting injured or Devin getting injured or, last year you had Wemby and Fox getting injured. Early last season, Vassell, started the season on, IR. So I'd love to see just a full season of relatively good health for everyone and kind of see how that develops and the chemistry and chemistry, the energy. I kind of like to see this roster that Brian Wright has skillfully put together. I'd love to see it play a whole season out before I think, considering any sort of changes. I know people talk about marketing a lot, but he's obviously a great player. But I like to kind of see what the assets they have now, how they would do, because I think that those guys could do well as well.
But isn't that kind of like still in rebuild mode? You just want to see if it works versus we know it works.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but to me, I don't know if it's so much of a rebuild as just more again, just trying to see. It's not so much see what you have. To me, it's not so much, well, let's see what we have. To me, it's more of, these guys have shown, at times, how good they can be. Let's put everything together and see how they do well, see how they do collectively. We've seen glimpses of them doing well, but then, a player goes down and, the lineups change, the rotations change. So I don't know if it's so much of a rebuild. I think it's just more of, let's allow them to develop naturally.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see his. Now, leave his picture on here for everybody to see. That's Dylan Harper, everybody. Again, we're talking about just how the injury bug hits at the worst times. We got this guy, this kid, this rookie. Is likely not going to participate in training camp. I think the Spurs mentioned preseason is a maybe, right? I think that's what it was for him.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
And
knowing the Spurs, I mean, the Spurs are always cautious with everybody. So
yeah,
I imagine that they're probably going to hold him out all preseason, maybe even the start of the season, just in order to allow him to get his conditioning correct. But it doesn't sound or seem like it's a serious injury. It's more precautionary with them.
Yeah. We had a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Ryan McCorkle come on. He talked about the injury to Harper, and in his medical opinion, he feels that he would not be surprised if Harper's back sooner than later, because of the type of injury. Yes, it's still surgery. That sucks, but it wasn't like massive surgery that he had. And apparently, according to the doctor, he said they don't even put you under. They just do you. They kind of block off the nerves in your hand. You're wide awake, and they take care of it, and off you go. But so with that being said, Raul, it feels though, if we're going to go with the overall vibe, if we take your average temperature and my average temperature, the vibe should be positive right now heading into training camp. This is going to be a good team, better than last season, can challenge for a playoff spot. But Spurs fans, okay, fine. I want to hear the comments already. But if we lower the expectation to a play-in, at minimum, they should be a play-in team, right? At minimum.
Oh, definitely. Again, I think the biggest thing with them is just keeping everyone healthy. Especially the big three. The big three is definitely Wemby and Fox, and the third one, I don't know if it's going to be Castle. Harper.
It's got to be Castle, yeah.
Or Devin Vassell. So, but I think they definitely need their core to stay healthy, and obviously, especially Wemby. I think they're going to do better than the play-in. Again, I say 4 or 5. At worst maybe 5, 6. But I just don't see how a team with this much talent and this much youth and energy and enthusiasm is going to drop lower than that.
Yeah, I think it'd be disastrous if they don't make any type of postseason. And well, it'll be rephrased, they make a play-in, period.
Yeah.
I think it's just disaster. That's a failed season if they not make at minimum the play-in. And we're being generous here. We're being very. I am with you. I think this team is playoff, bound. I think it is. I think this is a team constructed for the playoffs. But they got to come together. They got 82 games to try to make that happen. You're already starting off it kind of in a wrong foot with their rookie Harper out for a while. But nevertheless, even without him, this team should be powerful enough, should have enough weapons on both ends of the court to make noise until Harper comes back. And that just changes everything. But hey, that's what we think about the Spurs heading into training camp. That's our temperature read right there. What is yours? You can let Raul know on X at Dominguez5. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Get back. We're going to talk about Gilbert Arenas. Yes, remember age 0? Yeah, we had some interesting things to say about the Spurs. And number 2, Kawhi Leonard when he was a Spur. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love FanDuel because it just fits everything you need. You can build a same-game parlay, do player props, jump into live action as the action unfolds. Make every moment more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Quick, easy, the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. Cowboys have started their season. Texans are starting their season, so might as well jump on FanDuel right now. You ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
We're back on here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez. He's with the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Do that right now because the Spurs season is upon us. Media day is Monday. Training camp kicks off after that day. And then, next thing you know, preseason and then the home opener. It's a shame they don't open up home for game 1. They're on the road for like 2, 3 games, something like that.
Yeah, 2 games, before they come home.
Games on the road before they go home. But so, just delay that home appetite just for 2 games and you'll be good to go. But the good news is they'll be at a homestand for like 4 games. So that'll work to kick off the season. All right, so I think y'all know what Gilbert Arenas had to say. If you didn't, let's just recap it briefly. So he was on his show, and they were talking about this whole Kawhi Leonard, Clippers fiasco that everybody's kind of glued into right now. Did not pay him, avoid the cap rules, all that stuff. But during the conversation, they're talking about Kawhi and his medical history. And we all know that, right? Spurs fans, we know that, right? From the quad therapy or injury in San Antonio, well, allegedly quad therapy injury, to the ankle injury in the postseason versus the Warriors. You fast forward to his time with the Clippers, and it's just a laundry list of issues. I think maybe that 1 year with Toronto, Raul, is probably like the most healthiest we ever seen him. That 1 year, he led Toronto to the title. But bar that, we all know that he's had an injury-plagued career. So who's to blame? So we go back to the Spurs time. Many felt that it was the Spurs, that maybe they rushed him, maybe they diagnosed him wrong, maybe they handled it publicly in the wrong way. Then there's other people who said, no, that's just Kawhi. He just wanted out. He found an excuse and he got out. And it's not degenerative. It is degenerative. The point is this. Gilbert Arenas had a very interesting take, and he said the reason for Kawhi's lingering injury-plagued career is because it's the Spurs' fault. It's them who did not listen to Kawhi. It's them that did not listen to the guy that's dealing with these alleged injuries and treated him better medically. So Agent Zero, not unknown for not taking, or for taking, there's a lot of hot takes. And this one really got Spurs fans fired up. Raul, your reaction when you saw Arenas say, no, Spurs, it's your fault that injuries have followed Kawhi up until this point.
Yeah, I just it's I think sometimes some of the podcasters will say things, almost not, not just to say them, but, just to sort of have a take or maybe a little bit of a controversial take. But I just don't see, I don't agree with what he says in terms of, if you look at Kawhi's career prior to, him suffering the injuries, first year he played 64 games. I'm looking at his stats. Played 64 games his rookie season. Played 72 his second season. Then played 74 his third season. And I'm sure that there's 82 games. So I'm sure some of those times that he missed during his first 3 seasons were for what Pop called load management. So Spurs didn't overwork him. They didn't push him. I mean, we talked earlier about Dylan Harper. I mentioned about how cautious the Spurs are. As far as they're probably going to hold him out. You look at what the Spurs did with Tim Duncan when Tim Duncan had the knee injury. He could have played through that injury. I think at the time it was doctors are saying he couldn't do any more damage to it or something along those lines, and the Spurs still took Duncan off the court in the postseason during the season. When they felt like they had a legitimate chance of winning the championship, but they were thinking about Tim's future, and they were thinking about theirs as well. Like they knew it wasn't worth risking any type of other injury or possibly making it worse. So they sat him. And I know Tim was angry when they sat him. Report said that he was angry that they sat him. So I don't understand how you think that a franchise that would do that would purposely risk or harm one of their players. I mean, Kawhi was the your face, or he was the face of the franchise at that time. I mean, even before Tim Duncan retired, he talked about how him, Manu, and Tony all talked about how Kawhi was going to be or was the face of the franchise. So they put a lot into Kawhi. So to me, for him to say, "Oh, it's the Spurs' fault," it doesn't make sense. I mean, and then the season that he got hurt, he only played 9 games. So
yep.
How did they rush him back? And then when he did come back, I think it was for one game. I think it was maybe against New York. He came back for one game, and then he said he wasn't right. So they took him off the court. They put him back on the injury list. So I don't see how they rushed him. I don't see how they further injured him. I'm not sure exactly. We still don't know exactly what all happened, but I just don't see how the Spurs are to blame for this. And the other thing I was going to say is, I know initially people were talking about, Spurs are to blame for Kawhi's, injury history and, for, I think it's tendinopathy, I think is what it is, or what they said it was. Yeah. So, but if you noticed recently, no one said anything about that. No one's mentioned that at all. Like in the past, 2-3 years, I haven't heard anybody say that from Kawhi's camp or the Clippers. All of a sudden, that's become almost a dead issue. If Spurs did something to where it was going to impact him long term or throughout the rest of his career, why isn't that talked about anymore? Exactly. So I just think I think it was an ends to means to an end as far as them wanting Kawhi out of San Antonio. And I think with some of the stories that you're hearing now, I think it's pretty apparent that they wanted Kawhi in LA, and they got what he needs. But I think to blame the Spurs for his injury history, I think is wrong. If anything, the Spurs seems like they try and do as much as they can to lengthen players' careers and to make sure that they're healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it too, was there some vindication on the Spurs side? Because after he left San Antonio, and especially now with the Clippers, I mean, those injuries had just mountain on it. Where, the Clippers invested so much. Sure, they didn't know Shai Gilgeous was going to be Shai Gilgeous, but he was gone, all because they had to make a deal to get Paul George there. That's what Kawhi wanted, and they pretty much gutted their future in that deal. So maybe there was some vindication. And also, too, you look back at that time with the Spurs, and yeah, it was that was probably the most dramatic off the court issue we've seen this franchise go through. But nevertheless, yeah, the Spurs history. If you have dry skin, they'll hold you out for a month. I mean, that's how ridiculous it can be. So nevertheless, though, yeah, Arenas was absolutely wrong. It was, in my opinion, it was not the Spurs' fault. I think even the Spurs go above and beyond to protect players' health, from Wemby and to everybody else in between, even from guys like Danny Green to whoever, fill in last guy on the bench. They will do whatever it takes to preserve their health. And it just happened to be Kawhi. And it wasn't tumultuous time for the Spurs to end that era. But I was actually in New York for that Spurs Knicks game for Kawhi's official last game as a Spur. So, and by the way, he did not talk to the media afterwards. So there's that shot.
Just curious, do you remember anything? I mean, when you saw him on the court, did you can remember that? Did he grab his leg, or did you see him uncomfortable at all? Or?
No, he looked fine. He looked like, I mean, sure, there was some rust, but I believe, I'm pretty sure Spurs fans will correct me here, but I think he put in about 10 plus points that night. I want to say about 14 or 15, and not bad considering he does his first game back. And then everybody was kind of excited. I go, okay, Kawhi's back. I remember sitting in my media seat when they pulled him off the court. I didn't see any limping. I didn't see any wincing, nothing. And then the next day they went to go visit the Nets in Brooklyn. And that was the famous Pop interview where he just kind of gave up. He was kind of like, if y'all want to know about Kawhi, you're going to have to ask his people. I mean, that was at that point, I knew the team. At least Kawhi and his camp kind of broke the Spurs, just broke their backs. What can they do? Yeah.
So, I just, and I understand, the speculation. I don't agree with it, but I understand some people speculating. But again, the other thing you have to understand is that in saying that, you're saying that the Spurs doctors, essentially saying that they didn't care or they didn't do their job correctly. And, I think that's just a knock that is extremely unfair on the Spurs doctors. I mean, the medical staff, Spurs has been one of the top in the business, and knowing the doctors and knowing Pop and knowing that the way that they care for the well-being of their players, I think it's kind of it's not a fair criticism to say something like that, because you're taking shots at them and their professionalism as well.
Absolutely. So Gilbert Arenas, you might be wrong in your opinion there, but I get it. It's your opinion. You think you're entitled to it, but Raul and I are also entitled to our opinion, and we disagree with you. That it was completely the Spurs' fault. There's just absolutely no way. They would not risk the health of, at that time, would have been their next franchise guy. That would have been, was Raul mentioned, the heir to the big three. It was him. So they would not risk that. I mean, look how they are with Wemby right now. I mean, seriously. I was at the UFC fights a couple of weekends ago here at the Frost, and I saw Spurs staffers with Wemby. Are you okay? Are you okay? So they really take care of their main guys, and Kawhi was their main guy at the time. So no way they would jeopardize his health. All right, those are our thoughts about what Gilbert Arenas has to say. What are your thoughts about just the Spurs heading into training camp in a few days? And of course, the Kawhi Leonard comment that Gilbert Arenas shot at, where all Spurs fans reacted to. You let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs, or leave a comment on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Raul, you're finally going to get busy, aren't you, huh?
Yeah, it's fun. I've been looking forward to it, just seeing what the Spurs are going to do. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's I'm was raised with the combination of the old NBA days with Doug Moe, and then Pop's defensive mentality early on, with the the Spurs battling the Pistons. So right. I think it's going to be a nice combination of both. Maybe a little Doug Moe, a little Pop with the Spurs this season. Some great offense and some absolutely really, really stingy defense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I got their defense ranked pretty high. I think their offense is going to take a bit of a jump. But again, I think I'm just worried about that 3-shot. But bro, before we put a wrap on this episode, I want to share a video with you. So a few weeks ago, Raul, we had Spurs legend himself, Johnny Moore come on the Locked On Spurs show, and he shared with us a story. This is kind of history. Maybe you might have known this, but so just hold your reaction, Raul. But Spurs fans, did you know during Johnny Moore's playing days with the Spurs, early in the NBA time when San Antonio jumped over from the ABA, the Spurs actually beat the Lakers twice in one day? Did you know that, Raul?
I don't remember that.
Well, let's hear Johnny Moore talk about it. All right, let's bring him up here.
Was playing the Lakers. I always loved to play the Lakers because they were the elite in the West.
Right.
And, they got all the championships and the history behind them. So we always got up for them whenever we had an opportunity to play them. And we had a discrepancy in one of the games. And so they came back and they had that little arbitration. They came back. And so we actually played 2 games, finished that one game and played them again. So that was particularly nice for me because we beat this Lakers twice in the same night. So, that was one of the times that, I really enjoyed, playing. And I mean, it was just a great memory for us. The Lakers had great teams with Kareem and Magic and Worthy. And I mean, you can just go on and on, with their history. But, we was really focused on making our own history at the time. And that was one particular game where, I was like, I don't think there's too many people can ever say they beat the Lakers twice in one day.
So, yeah, exactly. What a story, man. I never knew that. The NBA Spurs beat the Lakers twice in one night.
Yeah, when he mentioned that, I think I vaguely remember something, or maybe like NBA overruled something, and maybe it was like the last minute or something. I don't remember, but I don't remember the exact details. But once he said that, I remembered something. Triggered a little bit of memory, but I didn't know what team it was. But back in the day, I mean, before the Spurs were able to win their their championship. I mean, Lakers were it. I mean, the battles that they had, Spurs trying to get past them, Kareem, Magic, and then Kobe, and the whole fiasco with Michael Thompson, coming to San Antonio and then wanting out immediately and goes to LA, and it was a huge rivalry. I mean, there was nothing like a Lakers Spurs game back in the day, and except for maybe Spurs. I'm trying to think who their rival was in the East. Maybe
it's
Bullets.
Oh, the East.
Bullets, maybe.
It's the Bullets. Yeah, it was the Bullets. Yeah, the
Bullets.
Yeah, and but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like the Lakers Spurs rivalry back in Johnny Moore's day was heated. I think the Spurs actually made a deal to bring in Artist Gilmore just to combat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just to have an answer to it. Yeah. So they were heated, and the hemisphere used to be rocking whenever it was Spurs Lakers back in the day. But figure I end up Friday with a little nice story there from a Spurs legend, Johnny Moore. All right, everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. If you're in a good over a good podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Cansify, Plus app, YouTube, you know where to go. Go subscribe right now. Raul, thank you again for having some time to join us here on Locked On Spurs. Again, follow him on X at Dominguez5, because the Spurs season is here. That's why he's in San Antonio. He covers the Spurs. So follow him right now. And do that. Make his day. Give him a nice little smile. See his follow numbers go up a bit. So again, he's at Dominguez5. Raul, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate it. And with that note, for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.